If you ever feel like you're being pulled in a million different directions by all of the different opinions in your life, or you feel like your trainer gives you advice and it just doesn't quite sit right with you, today I am talking to you. Hi, I'm Ruby. I'm a whole horsemanship trainer, and I help people and their horses just like you to develop a better bond, to enjoy each other more, and to trust each other more through whole horsemanship training and wellness practices. I had a super sweet young woman come to me. She's very thoughtful and intelligent and really discerning. She came to me this week about an issue that she's having where her trainer is giving her advice and it's just not quite working for her. It's not quite resonating, but she doesn't really feel like she has the room to have a different opinion. And she was concerned about her trainer and concerned about how this might come off if she decided to go a different way. And also very concerned about her horse because she felt like the solution that her trainer was giving her just wasn't quite the right or the best answer for her and the horse. Fortunately or unfortunately, this is something that I actually see a lot. And it's also something that I've experienced for myself because I think that there's this kind of culture in the horse world where the trainer is the ultimate authority. And when you're in their barn, you do things their way, no matter what, because you do, and you don't ask questions and you don't push back. I think that we're in a really interesting time right now where people, especially amateur riders or people that are pleasure riders, are really starting to kind of push back against this. And I think we're seeing it a lot in this kind of like serial barn hoppers phenomenon where people switch from trainer to trainer really frequently. And also in this kind of era where people like you look for answers online because the answers you're getting from your trainers maybe are just not quite filling or giving you the answers that you're really looking for. And I think what it all really kind of boils down to is that the bottom line is you, as your horse's protector and as your horse's companion and as your horse's partner, need to be their voice. I always think about, like, I feel like sometimes the Lorax because instead of trees, I speak for the horses. And I want to really empower you and the people that work with me to feel like they can be that for their horse and to feel like you are the ultimate authority, not your trainer and not somebody online and not your grandpa that did it this way or your friend that does it that way, but you. And you get to take all of the ideas and all of the information that is available to you and filter it through your own values and filter it through what you know of your horse and what you've tried in the past and what has worked and didn't work. And you get to make the decision ultimately about what you're going to do next with your horse and how you're going to solve these problems that are coming up for you. And it's easy enough for me from the trainer's seat to be able to look at you and say, I've seen this problem before and I know horses that are like yours and this is what worked last time. And so here are the steps 1, 2, 3. And, if you gave me your horse, I probably could go take your horse and fix, let's use an example of a horse that's maybe has a hard time picking up the right lead, for example, right? And I could say like, oh, I know this type of horse. They're a thinker. They're really intelligent. He's just overthinking. He's making himself anxious because he's overthinking and he doesn't really know what the right answer is. And so he's just trying things and it's not the right answer. And then, one trainer might say, well, then you need to kind of get after him and not let him get away with that. And another trainer might say, you need to make the wrong thing difficult and the right thing easy. And another trainer might say, you need to, I don't know, do a bunch of drills to really help him strengthen so that the correct lead is the easier one to pick up for him. And everyone's going to have different answers. And for me, I know what works and I know what I've done with horses like your horse in the past. And I know what worked for me then. And I know what probably will work for me now. And if you were to give me your horse, I probably could go from where he is now to a horse that can pick up the correct lead in a couple weeks if I was really diligent and worked with it frequently and went down through the steps that I see in my mind laid out as the answer to this problem. But ultimately, the goal, as I see it, shouldn't be to have a horse that picks up the correct lead, but it should be to have a rider who feels empowered in working with their own horse and a horse that feels like they can trust and understand and is on a cohesive team with their rider and to build a deeper bond with you. And if your goal is to go show in a couple weeks and you need your horse to be able to pick up the correct lead, then yes, maybe the best answer is to give your horse to the trainer and let them do it. But if your goal is just to have a horse that you enjoy riding and that you can come out to the barn and enjoy your ride, in some ways, like, does it even really matter if you pick up the correct lead? And yes, in some cases it really does. And we really want to make sure that your horse is correctly balanced if you're going to be doing obstacles or going at any kind of speed. And in that case, how can I help you with your horse and your history and your values to come to the ultimate goal of being able to bond with your horse and be balanced over the obstacles, which might include being on the correct lead. Is this making sense? So, what I see as the real problem is that there are these sort of prescriptive methods where people say, like, if you just do these three things, it'll fix the problem of your horse being on the wrong lead. But it doesn't actually fix the root of the problem, which is that you need to be in the driver's seat. You need to be in control of the situation, and you need to feel like you have your horse's best interests at the center of everything that you do. And your horse also needs to feel like you have their best interests at the center of everything that you do. And that's not something that a trainer can step in and fix for you. And so, what for me, fixing a problem of a horse picking up the wrong lead might be a really straight shot and a straight trajectory. And I might be able to do it on this timeline with these certain steps and give you a horse that picks up the correct lead, but that isn't any more bonded to you, that doesn't trust you anymore, and that maybe you feel kind of icky about the way that I did it. And so you might even be carrying some guilt about that. I could also help you to work through the same problems, and maybe we get creative and we come up with different solutions that fit your filter of your values and your goals, and give you a horse that maybe it takes a little bit longer. It's not a 2-week project. And maybe instead of the path looking like this, it looks like this, right? But ultimately, at the end of it, you and your horse are both in a better position and you're both more connected. And we've actually reached a much more profound goal. So, all of that to say, I think that there's a bigger problem here. And I think that it really stems from our horse people like yourself not feeling empowered to speak up for their horse, not feeling empowered to put things through their own filter and make the decision for themselves. And I also think it's really hard as a trainer when you give somebody advice that you know will help them and you know will work for them, and they don't want to take it and they don't do it and they take a detour, and maybe they end up taking some roads that we perceive as bad or wrong. And as long as those roads aren't dangerous, I have come to really feel like that's part of that person's journey with their horse. And even if it takes them a little bit longer to get to the desired outcome, even those roads that were challenging or where mistakes were made, as long as they're safe, those roads are equally valuable in that person's journey and their relationship with their horse and building that deeper relationship. So, what I want to do is invite you, if you are interested in finding your own path with your horse, to check out my Foundations Challenge. It's linked below. If you're watching this in real time, I'm getting ready to open the registration pretty soon. If you're watching this in the future, you may need to get on the wait list for next year because it's only going to happen once a year. But the entire intention with this is to take some really common things that are sticky points for people like yourself, pleasure riders, amateur riders, that have these horses that you really love and you really have a deep bond with and a deep connection with, but maybe they have some kind of annoying traits, like maybe they don't stand to be mounted, or maybe they fidget at the mounting block, or they rush through gates, or any number of things that are just a little bit maybe frustrating to you. And maybe the way that has been proposed to you to fix those things in the past just doesn't quite sit right with you. The example that a friend just gave me a few minutes ago is that she has a horse that's really mouthy and it doesn't actually bite, but it's always lipping and mouthing and looking for snacks. And the solution that somebody had given her was to kick the horse in the shins to distract them so that it wouldn't bite her. And she's like, A, that doesn't really feel good because I don't like kicking my horse in the shins. And B, it doesn't actually fix anything because it just distracts the horse for a minute and then they're right back to mouthing again. And so how can we work through the issue of mouthiness while also kind of honoring her relationship with her horse and working through her filter of what works for her, what doesn't work for her, and her values? And that's what this course is all about. So there's limited space. I highly encourage you to check it out if it's something that's interesting to you, because I think it's going to be really amazing and profound. But whether or not you take that course doesn't really even matter. What matters is that you empower yourself to be your horse's advocate and to stand up for what works for you. And if that means sometimes making hard decisions like finding another trainer that feels like a better fit, I really believe that everything happens for a reason. And if you find another trainer that feels like a better fit, somebody else is going to take your spot that is a better fit for that trainer anyway. So do what you need to do to protect yourself, to protect your horse, to protect your peace. And remember that behavior is communication. Your horse is trying to tell you something. And as long as you keep your horse's safety and well-being at the center of all of your decisions, you really can't go wrong. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that that got you some helpful information and insight. And please stay tuned for more videos. I try to post more tangible how-to videos on the weekend, so look out for that coming out in a couple of days. And otherwise, until the next time, make sure to hug your horse for me.